taking away clothing is typically some sort of power move. You know, you're not allowing them to exist in a more comfortable fashion, so makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
But they might be sweating if they were in more clothes.
Yeah. And the lack of clothing makes you more vulnerable, too, and less likely to, I don't know, get in a scuffle.
Take off. No one wants to run in the sand, so he's safe
without
there.
A shirt.
I'm not going out in the sand.
Kids are going to be more easily permanently manipulated. You can sculpt them. It's a horrible thing to say, but it's almost like in equatorial Africa when you have, these kids who are kind of brainwashed by these like death squads, they force the kids to execute people, maybe even their own families, and they take away their conscience and they just turn into junior warlords.
Like War Boys in Mad Max. Do you think Anubis and Jaimin Hunsu were his like former youngins and then they became warriors? Are they immortal?
Maybe. Or they're just very privileged. We don't know how many generations have happened in this civilization. We don't know how recently seeded this planet is. Does this planet currently have that one large village? Or is that one village one of numerous on a continent or multiple continents on a world that are all seeded? And Ra just stops by this one in one season and another season?
And that's how we got Stargate, the TV show.
Yeah. What's Ra's plan?
I've never seen any of that.
What's Ra's plan?
Neither have I, but I think it's a plausible way to get to a serialized TV show,
But like, is Ra just in the early stages of what eventually leads to Jupiter ascending?
Whoa. So he's going to hang out with Eddie Redmayne?
Well, he might be Eddie Redmayne's great to the 15th power or 5,000th power grandfather.
What's Ra's plan? So Ra goes and collects these minerals. Does that mineral run his ship? Does he go to an alien swap meet and turn in those minerals? Why is he popping back to this planet?
Well, let's not forget. So he had already seeded ancient Egypt on Earth.
Yeah.
And then, 7 to 8,000 years later, here we are, right? So this is him starting over. He's at some stage in the earlier stages starting over on this other planet where, again, it's now, with this dimensional travel, who's to say what's going on with time? But literally compared to Earth, it's a deficit of 7 or 8,000 years. Is Ra that old since he started seeding planets? Has he seeded other planets? And if so, and if he started with Earth and now he's over there, well, Earth doesn't have this mineral. So he's just recently come across this mineral.
Yeah.
I thought it was all a plan to feed into his need for immortality.
Oh, yeah.
Well, but he needs human bodies for that.
Mm-hmm.
So when he got that body, John, how long have humans been around in regards to like Jay Davison's, not like Cro-Magnon, like how long have humans
the civilization on this planet that we're seeing in this movie?
Like us as humans on this Earth. So presuming that he took that form when he landed on Earth, like Jay Davis, like you know what I mean? So he took Jay Davison's form.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It took, I don't know.
He's been using and repairing that body for either upwards of 8,000 plus years. Mm-hmm. And that's 8,000 from Egyptian times, not leading up to it. But who's to say that he didn't create things on a much faster scale? I don't know. And maybe the 10,000 years that it took, more than that. It depends on how we're talking about evolution, right? I mean, is he really starting with bacteria on a planet and like single-celled things to get to humans? Or is he are we just playing that he created mankind in a basic sense? And within 1,000 years, he had ancient Egypt. It's tough to say because if he seeded a planet in the sense of we're starting with a big bang on that planet,
so
he created that big bang, right? It's a super long time, but maybe that's not maybe he can go into a cryostasis. He was traveling across the known universe. Arguably, any life form would need to because he had to get to Earth. So he had to be in some kind of a stasis. He was a dying creature and he needed to travel even at greater than light speed, what would have taken thousands of years to make. This is one of the arguments that Neil deGrasse Tyson has for when people say, well, if they're aliens, why haven't we seen them yet? It's like, well, they could have started to travel to us before humans were humans, and we will be long extinct by the time they get to us, even with faster than light travel. So, it's like time is such a wishy-washy thing when we're talking about universe-level discussions in a sci-fi plot-sphere.
Well,
and then the other argument is did he just whiz over there in a second, like in the Event Horizon, right? Mm-hmm. Does he have that kind of time travel or, time-space travel ability? And time is just different in this other place because the universe and the galaxy and the heavenly bodies are rotating at different rates, creating different cosmos of time.
Kind of like Interstellar.
Right, because time is relative to those things. Mm-hmm. So it's like we aren't even in a situation, unless we get Neil deGrasse Tyson here, we aren't even in a good situation to bemuse ourselves of these ideas other than to humble ourselves to the fact that it can be any one of 1,000 plot lines that we choose to take for time-space.
I think that's what makes it fun, that you can think through all those scenarios, and it could be any of those. But the reason why the story is well constructed is because that doesn't actually matter. All that matters is he's oppressing these people, and our soldier friends and our scientist friend see an issue there.
And I think the questions we have aren't bad.
No, I think it makes it fun.
And they wouldn't have been needed in the movie. You don't need Kowalski as a prisoner. And then Raj like, listen here, Kowalski. This is how it's done. You have this piece of paper and you stick a pencil through it.
Right.
You'll see it in Event Horizon a few years later, and then again in Interstellar.
Or if Ra gives like this whole, like, just wait a second, guys. I've been on this planet and traveling around for 2 million years, and I've seen some things.
Listen up, y'all.
I've been oppressed too, guys.
Yeah. And that makes me happy too, because you watch these movies and, hey, how's my wife of 10 years doing today that I met in college at Florida State when we got our masters together and we have 3 kids and a house in the suburbs? How you doing today? Like, I'm glad there's no, there's none of that.
You mean there's no expository dialogue vehicle?
What if Ra came down to the planet and was like, what did I miss?
Oh my god.
Well, so Ra, though, he's done all these things on the planet where he is now, and this mineral is clearly a part of life there. For some reason, it's important to him because he has these people mining it, like Pharaoh had his slaves building things, right? Mm-hmm. So they're mining this, but he didn't have that on Earth.
No.
So he was able to create our world as we know it without this mineral. So he does not require that mineral to function on Earth unless he gets it from other galaxies like fueling stations, and then he goes out and seeds other places, and then he has to go find another world in this galaxy that has this mineral, this element that we don't have. But clearly it's not important that he always has access to this unless, again, he's hoarding it for something. Maybe he needs that for his time-space travel. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's like in Galaxy Quest when they need to get another beryllium sphere. Yeah. He's slowly building up his beryllium, aka rondonium, I think it was called in this, or something. And he's trying to build that up, but it happens to have other uses because it's this nuclear power source or this, unstable element or something. So again, it's hard to understand, like, was this critical to his species economy originally, or was this an element like we use steel or like we use other things that are rare and mined from Earth, fossil fuels? Is this like that for what was his race, and he's just taking his basic knowledge of the need for that and applying it to the rest of the universe and creating tools with it? And by the way, if he was the last of his kind, how is he maintaining his own ship, a big ship, Mark?
Huge ship. This is
what I mean. I assume that every now and then there are maintenance issues of a litany of different forms, and he just was able to, even if he had the knowledge, like in the Matrix, to have all those skill sets, literally the man hours it would take, he doesn't have robots around. It was just him, apparently, as the story vaguely tells us. So, like, maybe his ship is that great in his alien technology, but I feel like it takes a lot to operate that huge thing and a lot to create people and to nurture these people and to teach them mining engineering and to create all these spear rifles and the special armor that Osiris and Anubis warriors were wearing. They had to be made. And even if he didn't make it, he had to teach someone to make it, Or does his ship just make it? Like what? I want to know the economy of labor before we had a civilization of humans.
Do you think he has a bunch of Ugnuts from Star Wars that are just hidden throughout the ship and we never see them?
I feel like he'd use them. Mm-hmm. But could be, or maybe he did and they've expired and he doesn't have the skill set to fix them. Mm-hmm. Maybe he needs to get more of this rondonium or whatever the hell they called it to eventually recharge their batteries of these things that we don't even see, because we only see the most basic components of his ship, and it's a huge ship.
When that thing lands, it's like a city, basically.
Right. It swallows the bottom, the Great Pyramid that was there. It swallows it. It would take like 50 Great Pyramids to make it, and again, it looks like the pyramid was just a docking station for it.
I saw a funny description in an article that was like, how great is it that there is this god, immortal, who has all of these traveling abilities and whatnot, and he still has to have people make his pyramids for him.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, so, I have an idea there.
Uh-oh.
I don't think he needs them. I think this is like he was the last of his kind, and it's not just about survival. What does it matter if you're the last person on Earth and you can live forever, even if you could live forever if you're alone?
He has to be worshipped.
Right. He wants to be worshipped. He literally is getting adorned with all this jewelry by those child vessels, or vassal. That's the word, vassals. And when that happens, you got to realize that jewelry is only valuable because he said it was. Because he created this civilization. And he's like, hey guys, this is valuable, and you're gonna dress me in this periodically.
Well, he's also giving them a purpose too. They can't just, wait around for him to come back and consume them. They have to be doing something.
But he has invented jewelry.
Roz, do you think you've ever rossels with people? Oh, that's bad. Oh. All right, on this, let's take a break, and when we come back, we will talk more Stargate. We will be right back. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks, and I gotta ask you two a question. On a scale of 1 to 10, you land on a planet, and you are a god, you're an ancient being who has discovered cross-dimensional travel, you're seemingly immortal, you've seeded life on various planets, but you know on this planet that Kurt Russell's there, and he's a soldier. On a scale of 1 to 10, how screwed are you? What's your thoughts? On a scale of 1 to 10, how afraid are you?
I mean, what are my intentions?
You want to wipe out Kurt Russell.
Oh, well, then I'm probably pretty scared.
To quote Dr. Manhattan from The Watchmen, the smartest human on the planet poses no more threat to me than the smartest cockroach. I assume that Ra views the greatest threat that a man can pose as still no threat at all, even though he knows if he ignores them, they will pose a problem.
So can we assume that I, as a god, and, I hear through the network, do I know who Kurt Russell is? Do I know what this implies?
Yes.
I mean, I might be wary.
He knows it's a bomb. He knows that there's a bomb in front of him, a destructive force.
Yeah. So I saw the copies of Escape from New York on his shelf.
He's got 2 bombs, a left and a right one.
That's right.
Well, then he knows that his greatest weakness is a crossbow to the thigh. Get him limping for the rest of the movie.
I love how he sells that in Escape from New York, by the way. And you know what? We haven't even talked about... Okay.
Wait, is Kurt Russell in this scenario wearing a sleeveless shirt or not?
Yes.
That's much
well,
scarier.
hold on. Now I'm more nervous, because now I'm going to see those arms better.
I mean, you saw what he did in Big Trouble in Little China with no sleeves.
Those reflexes. This isn't breakdown Kurt Russell. This isn't Harry, white collar dad. Yeah, this is Jack Burton.
He's going to cause chaos just by trying to help things.
Yeah, just make it worse.
Mm-hmm.
Pork Chop Express.
I got to tell you, after he left Northern California, after defeating that thousands-year-old sorcerer in Chinatown,
in the Pork Chop Express,
and he joined the military and changed his name. He only changed his last name.
Yeah.
Jack Burton to Jack O'Neill.
Yeah.
He was thinking well, what happens if someone calls my name and I don't recognize my name? I got to stick with Jack.
I feel like I need to go through his IMDb now and see how many times he's played Jack.
Yeah, because he's still good old Jack. He can't see good old Rick. It's got to be good old Jack.